Imagine this. You're one of the most powerful agents in Hollywood, representing some of the biggest A-list stars. You go on a podcast, you start talking, and before you realize it, you've said too much. Then, like magic, the entire recording, both audio and video, just disappears. Sounds unbelievable, right? Well, that's exactly what happened when Ari Emanuel, the powerhouse agent behind Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and Justin Baldoni, went on Freakonomics to talk about an explosive controversy. Emanuel, who has deep ties in Hollywood, didn't just casually discuss his clients. He went all in on Baldoni, dismissing him with blatant disrespect while fully backing Lively and Reynolds. But here's the part that should make you raise an eyebrow. After the podcast was recorded, the host came back with shocking news. The entire episode never saved. Not the audio, not the video, nothing, just gone. Now, let's put this into perspective. This isn't some low-budget setup. Freakonomics is a massive podcast. They've recorded thousands of interviews over the years without a single technical failure of this magnitude. And yet, the one episode that could put a powerful Hollywood agent in serious hot water just happens to be the only one that mysteriously disappears. Convenient? Suspicious? You tell me. But here's the kicker. Despite this so-called accidental erasure, leaked audio still found its way to the public. And what Emanuel said? It's even worse than you think, because now we have the receipts. The leaked audio exposes everything, and you won't believe what's in it. So, the podcast mysteriously disappears. No audio, no video, nothing. But Hollywood isn't as airtight as it thinks, because despite the so-called technical failure, the truth still got out. Someone in that room wasn't buying the excuse. And thanks to a brave journalist who secretly recorded the conversation, we now have the leaked audio of what really went down. And trust me, it's worse than anyone expected. Ari Emanuel, one of the most powerful agents in Hollywood, was caught talking reckless about one of his own former clients, Justin Baldoni. He didn't just distance himself, he went out of his way to mock him, calling him baloney and dismissing his credibility. But here's where it gets really messy. Emanuel didn't just bash Baldoni, he made it painfully obvious that his loyalty was never about the truth. In the leaked audio, Emanuel repeatedly defends Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, painting them as untouchable figures in Hollywood. He insists they've always been good people, that they've never had bad press, and that they deserve the benefit of the doubt. Meanwhile, Baldoni, completely thrown under the bus, without hesitation. But listen to this. Emanuel admits he fired Baldoni, and not because of any legal ruling, not because of hard evidence, but because Blake and Ryan wanted him gone. The leaked audio makes it clear. Hollywood's biggest stars don't just act in movies, they control careers. And it doesn't stop there, because if this leaked audio is telling the truth, that means WME didn't just drop Baldoni, they were forced to. But here's the real question. How much power do Lively and Reynolds actually have? The answer will shock you. So, let's get this straight. Ari Emanuel, one of the most influential agents in Hollywood, didn't just drop Justin Baldoni. He was pressured into it. By who? Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And if you think that's just speculation, think again. The leaked audio confirms it. Now let's talk about the real power these two have. On the surface, they're Hollywood's golden couple. Funny, charming, loved by the public. But behind the scenes, they're not just actors. They're movers and shakers in the industry. They don't just land roles, they control them. Think about it. One of the most powerful talent agencies in the world didn't hesitate to cut ties with Baldoni the moment Lively and Reynolds pushed for it. The leaked audio even suggests that Emanuel didn't want to do it, but had no choice, because in Hollywood, it's not just about talent, it's about who holds the power. And this isn't the first time we've seen something like this. Major stars have influence over executives, and if you're in their way, you're done. It's an unspoken rule in Hollywood. When the A-listers speak, everyone listens. But here's the problem. If Lively and Reynolds truly forced WME to fire Baldoni before any real investigation, before any legal process, what does that say about Hollywood's so-called fairness? And here's where it gets even more disturbing. Emanuel's own words don't just expose Hollywood's power imbalance, they reveal a level of hypocrisy that will make your head spin. So let's break this down. Ari Emanuel publicly defends Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, saying they're good people, with no history of controversy. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni gets completely dismissed, mocked, disrespected, and erased from WME without hesitation. But here's where things get even more twisted. While Baldoni was dropped immediately, Emanuel and WME still represent Diddy. despite the massive allegations surrounding him. Let that sink in. So we have one guy who gets fired instantly based on accusations with no legal ruling, and another who's facing far more severe allegations, still sitting comfortably with representation. And yet, we're supposed to believe this is about justice? Emanuel even goes as far as criticizing how social media is weaponized against celebrities. Yet, in the very same breath, he uses that same power to shield Lively and Reynolds while taking down Baldoni. This isn't about fairness. It's about who holds the cards. And the worst part? Emanuel isn't just playing the game, he's making the rules. And let's not forget his own words in the leaked audio. He doesn't say Baldoni was guilty. He doesn't point to evidence. Instead, he just laughs him off, calls him names, and acts like his career never mattered. If this was really about ethics, shouldn't there be a process? Shouldn't Hollywood at the very least pretend to play fair? But they didn't. They didn't even try. And if you thought Emanuel's comments were bad, wait until you hear just how brutally he smears Baldoni in this recording. It's worse than you think. Emanuel might think he's untouchable, but in the leaked audio, he admitted something that could cost him, and WME, big time. Because firing Justin Baldoni under pressure from Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, that's not just bad optics, it could be legally disastrous. Let's break it down. In Hollywood, when someone is dropped by a major talent agency like WME, it shatters their career. Deals vanish, projects fall apart, and the damage isn't just temporary, it can last forever. So, if Baldoni was fired without cause, and based purely on outside influence, that's a massive problem. It opens the door for a wrongful termination lawsuit, especially if Baldoni can prove that WME acted unfairly or made decisions based on pressure from bigger clients. And it doesn't stop there. Emanuel's dismissive attitude, calling Baldoni baloney and mocking him in public, could easily be considered defamation, especially if Baldoni can show that Emanuel's comments harmed his reputation and future opportunities. And let's not forget, Hollywood agencies are businesses. They have contracts, legal obligations. If WME dropped Baldoni without following proper procedures, there could be financial consequences. He could sue for damages, loss of income, and reputational harm. And given that we now have the audio proof, WME can't exactly pretend they weren't influenced. But here's where it gets even crazier. WME dropping Baldoni so quickly, while keeping other, more controversial figures, proves just how inconsistent and selective Hollywood justice really is. And if this turns into a full-blown legal battle, we could see some very big names get dragged into the mess. Because if Baldoni fights back, this won't just expose Emanuel. It could take down Hollywood's entire system of behind-the-scenes power plays. And you won't believe what this means for the future of Hollywood. Let's take a step back for a second. We now know that Emanuel fired Justin Baldoni under pressure from Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. We know that he openly mocked Baldoni and that his own words could land him in legal trouble. But here's the part that nobody is talking about: how the podcast that exposed all of this just happened to disappear. Seriously, think about it. Freakonomics is one of the biggest, most well-run podcasts out there. They've conducted thousands of interviews. They have backup recordings, fail-safes, and a professional team dedicated to making sure things run smoothly. And yet, for the first time in their entire history, a full interview with a Hollywood power player just magically vanishes? Not only that, but the show's editor looked physically sick when she broke the news. Shaky, pale, almost like she knew something was wrong. That's not the reaction of someone who simply made a mistake. That's the reaction of someone who just witnessed something bigger than herself. And let's be real, this wasn't just any episode. This was an interview where Emanuel blatantly trashed Baldoni, made incriminating statements, and revealed Hollywood's ugly power structure. So ask yourself, who benefits from this podcast never seeing the light of day? The answer is obvious: WME, Emanuel, and of course, the A-listers involved. Because the more people hear this, the more it proves that Hollywood isn't about truth. It's about who controls the narrative. But guess what? They failed. Because the leaked audio did get out, and now, there's no stopping the fallout. And that brings us to the bigger question: what does this mean for Hollywood's future? Because if this is how the industry operates behind closed doors, things are about to change. At the end of the day, this isn't just about one podcast, one agent, or even one actor. This is about how Hollywood really works. Power isn't about talent. It isn't about fairness. It's about who has the most influence and who they can erase when it benefits them. Justin Baldoni isn't just fighting for his career. He's fighting against a system that lets A-listers control the fate of everyone around them. Emanuel's comments prove that loyalty in Hollywood is conditional. The moment you're no longer useful, you're gone. And let's not forget the bigger picture. If this is how Hollywood operates in the shadows, how many other careers have been destroyed the same way? How many actors, directors, or producers have been silenced because they didn't have the right people protecting them? The worst part? This isn't even the biggest Hollywood cover-up. This is just one that got caught. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Was Baldoni treated unfairly? Did Lively and Reynolds really force WME's hand? And what do you think about the podcast mysteriously disappearing? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more Hollywood exposés that actually tell the truth, hit that subscribe button, because trust me, this isn't over. Not even close.